St. Juan's home for the ADD.
Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Bring Your Own Calm. Today we will be checking out what we've left in orbit when I left the thing running all day long at work. So first up, we'll go ahead and have a look at this one heading to a contract orbit. We don't want any encounters with the moon or any other objects. That'll do for now. I think the next thing that we want to do is get rid of both the maneuvers and plan this thing from scratch, because we accidentally left this running while I was at work all day long. So we'll put one at the ascending node. And bring it down and right into plane. And so don't really have the opportunity to combine any maneuvers here. Yeah, it's always nice if you can, because whenever you do so, if you got two maneuvers, if you can combine them, then you only have to do the vector addition of them too. And that is always, the worst it can be is equal to the two, and that's only if they're both in the same direction anyway and you don't really have two maneuvers. If it's like they usually are, perpendicular, then that means that you're going to get a advantage of going across the hypotenuse of a triangle instead of around the other two sides. And that's a pretty big advantage. So what do we got here? We can throw one here, we'll throw NC1 there. What we'd like to do is, since this is the intersection between these two orbits, there must be some solution that'll get us going exactly on the orbit. But I can't find it. Yeah, it's a simple vector, more vector algebra. But you figure out which direction you're going there, and you figure out which direction the orbit's going there, and you just put them together, subtract the two, and do the maneuver there. It should be easy. Now, we are going the right direction. We're not going to have anything embarrassing like that happen this time. I think we're getting there. Yep, we're getting there. We're getting there. We got it. That's our solution. That's got it. And add maneuver, and that is going to be NC1 or OTM1, because we're not doing a rendezvous. Yeah, there's a strict naming convention for the maneuvers. First you have the kick maneuvers that we've seen: perigee kick, apogee kick. And actually the very first thing that we do is we do the boost, which launches from the ground into a suborbital trajectory with an apoapse that's above the Kármán line. And then once we get to that apoapse, we do an insertion, which finishes off the boost to orbit. And this is similar to what they used to do with the space shuttle, where they would use the boosters and the big orange tank and get up into an orbit where the apoapse was in space and the periapse was still on the ground, or still underground maybe. And then if you're doing a rendezvous, you have maneuvers that are NC and NPC. And that's traditional back all the way from the Gemini program when they were practicing for the Apollo program for the lunar orbit rendezvous. So what they would do in Earth orbit is when they were trying to rendezvous something, they would do the nth plane change. Yes, that really is what it is. And one would think that would mean that a particular one would be 1 PC and 2 PC, etc. But that's not how they do it. And so the what they do instead is they call it the nth plane change number 1, or NPC1 for short. And if they're doing something other than plane change, then it's an NC1. It's just nth change. And it's just traditional. It's the way that they've always called it, and that's what you do for rendezvous. And the last one that you do to jump from your co-elliptic orbit to the intersection with the target, that's called the terminal phase initiation, because the transfer orbit is called the terminal phase. And then you have terminal phase initiation, which gets you there on that orbit. And then when you arrive, you'd think you'd have a terminal phase final, but actually what they have is the braking maneuver. And because what they're thinking of is relative to the target, they need to slow down because otherwise they will go past it. And so all of that is for rendezvous, which we haven't done any of yet. And so this is for when you don't have a specific vehicle target or a specific in space already in orbit physical target, but instead a orbit parameter target, you just call those orbit trim maneuvers. I've been calling plane changes NPCs, and I guess that's fair, but a lot of people would just call them OTMs. And that'll do it for this short episode, because in the next one we're going to bring Jeb home. This is Quan3217 saying, if at first you don't succeed, fly, fly again.